Welcome to Herdmaster online training. This is specifically for the universal file import utility. I created sheets to import containing traits, procedures, as well as treatments. First of all, I'm going to import one of the files and show you how the allocation on the columns work. In Herdmaster, you would go to Utilities, Import, Universal File Import. First of all, you would create a new template. So you click on Add Template. You give the template a name. You can call it weaning calves if you know that you've weaned calves and you're going to import that information into Herdmaster. Create a template called weaning calves. So every time you've weaned calves and you want to import that information, you just go and find your template and you don't have to keep on adding and editing templates. Then just make sure that the column orders on your scale or reader stay the same. So you'll name your template, click on OK, then it will open the following screen. On your right hand side, there's three little dots. Click on them and go and find the file that you want to import. I'm first of all going to work on weights. You'll see that it automatically saw that it's an Excel file. If it's a CSV file, this would be delimited. I'm going to leave it as Excel. Click on Load Selected File. This is what it would look like then. Now you need to assign columns. First column is my tag. This could also be your electronic ID if you work on your electronic IDs, but you need to remember that your electronic ID format on your scale or reader needs to match your electronic ID within Herdmaster. Usually it's 3 characters, a space, and then the rest of the characters, but I do know that some electronic IDs are imported as 3 characters separated by spaces in between. Best is to keep with one format when you import the electronic IDs, as not to get confused with which animal has which electronic ID. One has spaces, one doesn't have spaces. It makes it difficult when you try and find an animal on your database with an electronic ID. But in this case, I'm using animal tags. So I click on Animal Data, Animal ID, Animal Tag. You'll see that it does have other options. There is your electronic ID. I'm going to select Animal Tag. This column I'm going to leave blank. This would be my weight. Click on the weight column. At the bottom, select weights. This is the actual weight, so I click on weight. When importing weights, traits, procedures, you would need an observation code as well as a date. You can override this at the end when you do the import, keeping in mind that all the observation codes would need to be the same as well as the date. If your dates vary, and it's all the work that you've done for the past week, you're going to have to assign your date column on here. But your date format needs to match your computer date format. This one is not going to work because it starts with a year. Bottom right, you'll see my date starts with a day. So first, make sure that the date format on your scale or reader coincides with the date on your computer. Herdmaster works off of your computer settings. The same with decimal numbers. Make everything a full stop. So column 3 should have been date. So if you would click on that, you would have go to the bottom, click on weights and say weight date. I'm not going to do that because this date is not going to import. The time column you will ignore. Herdmaster does not work on times. some of the files that you can draw off of your scale or your reader gives you the date and the time in the same cell. So you would then also have to overwrite that date, because even if your date's in the correct order, Herdmaster is not going to recognize the time. So these two I'm going to leave. Click on Save, click on Close. Find your template, select it, click on Next. On the three little dots, go and find your file again. It was the weights one. Next. This is what's going to import. You'll see, because it's an Excel file, it saw column headings. So it's going to import blank notes, and it's also going to see the date and the time. When you import a CSV, it leaves these ones blank if you did not assign them. So because this is an Excel, click on Animal Notes, click on None, do the same with the date and the time. Now we can add a date column at the bottom. Click on Use Override Date. I'm going to enter yesterday's date. And on your right-hand side, you'll see that you also have an option for a date column there, and then add code column. Code column is your observation code, whether it was weaning, mature, whatever the case may be. I'm just going to enter a W to say that it was weights. Click on OK, and then click on Next. You'll see on this screen that they did not find any new animals. It's updating 12 weights. Let's click on Next and Import. Click on Next. If everything's given you green ticks, you'll note that it didn't skip or fail anything on this screen. If it gave you any errors, you can click on Import Errors to check which animals it skipped. It could be that it found a decimal as a comma and your computer is set to a full stop. Let's click on Finish. I'm not going to say finish and import another. Just want to show you that it imported the information. Let's click on Refresh, so that it just processes the new information. Click on View Edit Weights. Here are the weights that I just imported. Let's do the same for traits. So click on Utilities, Import, Universal File Import. I'm going to add a template and call it Training Traits. Click on the three dots again to find your file. There is Traits, and load your file. So this is what you have. First column is already assigned as animal tag. Let's just do that again. Trait code is going to be, this column would be your trait value. So at the bottom, you click on the column, traits. You can see you can import as much as 5 traits at a time. I'm doing trait code 1 now, and this is trait code's 1 value. Column 3 would be the trait code. So click on trait code. That is the code that it's importing on, so it's going to be hip height. TN is temperament. So we click again, traits. This is trait code 2. This is the trait code. Column 5 is the value. Click on the column, traits, trait code 2, value. Date I'm going to leave, it's in the incorrect format, as well as time. If you create a template like this and you're going to keep on using it, next time you would need to make sure that the format of your Excel is going to be the same, that you have the trait with the tag, the trait value, the code for trait 1, then I have trait code 2, and then the value. Save and close. It's training traits. Click on Next. Click on the 3 dots. These were traits. Click on Next. So this is what it's going to import. We need to assign a date column. So at the bottom, click on Add Date Column. Date column to add. You can say that it's for trade 1, trade date 2, to make it easier and not have to enter a trade date too many times. You can see that you can also select one trade date. Let's do it this way. Let's say it's trade date 1. Let's leave it as today's date and say OK. And then in the middle, click on Use Trade 1 Date for all trades, so that you don't have to go and enter a date column every time. Let's just see what the columns are assigned to. Animal notes, we want none. We have the value, the code value, which is correct. Date, this is the wrong date. Time, we're not using time. Trade date 1. Let's add a code column. It's an observation code. If you forgot to enter a trade code column, you can always add it on the screen, but not to get confused, I would rather add it in the beginning so that you know which column value belongs to which trade code. I'm just going to say these are mature animal traits and click on OK. Let's click on Next. It's going to import 24 traits. Let's see. It says that it's processed. Let's import and let's see if the import runs through. It's finished. Let's click on Next. No errors. Finish. Let's click on Refresh and let's see if the trait's imported. There are the traits that I imported. So I have a hip height, I have a temperament, there are the values, it shows that it was imported and it was observation code MA. Lastly, let's do the procedure or the treatment. So when you do treatments and you import a batch number, you first need to go and set up that batch. So if you click on Setup, Treatment, let's set up a treatment batch. Click on OK on that message. Let's see what treatment I have. To add a batch to that I want to import. Okay, so this is a convection injection, and this is the batch number that I used. So on here, it's a vaccine. So the treatment type was vaccine. At the bottom, which treatment I used. I'm not okay, convection is not on here yet, so I would need to add it. So let's click on Add. Let's just see if it's on here. Alphabetically. Okay, so it does not see it at all. So first we would need to go and add that treatment. Okay, let's click on Edit Treatments. On the drop down, let's click on Vaccine. Add. This is going to be Covaxin. Say OK. You can fill in the description, the use, if there's any certificates. I'm not going to do all of that now. Administration method, I'm just going to say as a vaccine, and it is a chemical. Let's save that and close. So on here, on the drop down on your left, on your treatment, we've selected vaccine. We're looking for Covaxin. Now I want to add a batch. The batch number I used was 21120. The initial quantity, I'm going to say, is 50 liters. I haven't used anything. Receive date, let's just select the date. Expiry date. If you use treatment that's expired, it's going to give you a warning. So let's make it in November. Supplier, you can add on your contacts. Storage location, if it's on a specific location, you can select that from here. Just keep in mind, then you would need to click on top left, show batches for all properties. Otherwise, you're not going to see all your batches. Unit name, let's work on milliliters. You can work out a cost. I'm just going to put 10 Rand in there and let's close. Okay, so now I've created that batch. Now we can import. Just make sure that your file is closed. Click on Utilities, Import, Universal File Import. Let's add a new template for procedures or treatments. Okay. On your right hand side, click on the three little dots. It's a procedure and let's open and load. First off, we have the animal tag. This is now going to be my procedure. You can also add more than one procedure, but let's start with number 1. So this is treatment 1. This would have been the dose. So it's procedure, procedure 1, and the dose for procedure 1. Column 4, procedure, procedure 1, and that is the batch number. Then I have a date and time. The date is not going to work. Let's just see what else we have under procedures. You can make a cost column that you can import. Okay, the one is for the date that we're going to assign to later. And then if you want to enter any comments. Let's save and close. Next, let's go and find the file. It was a procedure and let's click on next. Okay, so we have animal tag, none. This is our treatment 1, dose, our batch number. We do not want that date. We do not want that time. Let's overwrite the date with today's date is fine, and let us add a code column to say that we administered this on, let's say it was weaning. Not a worksheet observation code, and it was administered on weaning. Click on OK and then click on next. 12 procedures, next. Import, next, nothing failed. Let's click on refresh, view, edit procedures, and there are the procedures that I imported. The only problem with importing procedures and assigning a batch to it is that it does not show that you've used the batch because it sees it as third-party information. You'll see that if I go to set up treatments batches, I go to vaccine and I find that one that I just used. It did not update. It did not show that I used anything. So best would be, if this is important to you, is to use the data entry treatments option and not the import option. If this is not important to you, then you can use the import function. I know when you import preg tests as well, it also sees it as third-party information, so it doesn't give you a carving warning. But that would then be that for using the universal file import. Just as a note, want to show you that one of the Excel files that you can get off your scale or your reader, you'll see there's the electronic ID. You have a visual ID, date, time. This one shows whether it's dam or offspring, the dam's electronic ID, visual ID, date of birth and sex. This you will set up on your own device, and when you do the import, you'll only import the information that you need to import. Thanks for watching.